My name is Joshua Pheqes here with another edition of ULoL Weekly, week 2 actually. And first we're going to go ahead and go over, we're going to actually get right into this one, go over week 1 and what happened and what I talked about in there. Mostly I just want to touch on the Midwest Campus Clash. The eligible schools are Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Michigan, Minnesota, Missouri, Nebraska, North Dakota, Ohio, South Dakota, and Wisconsin. And the main reason why I want to touch on that is because it's still eligible for any of the ULoL Campus Series players in teams. And it's still, the registration is open for another 10 days, so until the 22nd, and you have a chance to compete for $25,000 for the Midwest Campus Clash. So it's a pretty good opportunity for any teams or players out there within those schools that want to try to, make more money in the collegiate circuit. It's very nice. Other things I talked about were, the Big Ten, the introduction to the Big Ten, the introduction of the ULoL Campus Series, how it used to be the NACCs, and how CSL is helping out with this nowadays, and just how big it's actually become. It's really cool. Of course, you can go check that out on youtube.com/cstarleague. But again, we're going to go ahead and get going here. Not going to dwell too much on the week 1 review. So, going on to this week, we are actually in week number 4, going into week number 5. This show's about week number 4, though, and most of the teams have already locked in their top spots and got the playoff berth on their under their belt already. Robert Morris University, North Division, and the Division North 1, University of British Columbia, who I actually touched on a little bit last week. They're not the same team they were last year. They're not the same team that have won the last 2 championships in the collegiate tournament. But they're still a really good team. They're actually number 1 in the West 1 division right now, even without Bobchin on their side, who, again, I mentioned last week, has moved on to the NACS and trying to make a name for himself in the amateur scene, try to become professional after that with EU United. So good luck to Bobchin for sure. I mean, he's a 2-time collegiate champion. Hopefully he can transfer those skills over to the Challenger Series and hopefully one day the Pro Series. It'd be amazing to see him. And that is one thing I do love, is seeing collegiate players go up to the pro scene. And of course, I actually like seeing pro players come down to the collegiate scene, because it's not a defeat whenever they go from pro to collegiate. It just means they're focusing on something else in life. The main reason why I mention this is because there's actually a couple of people on those in that situation. Carnegie Mellon has Mega Zero, who is the best Riven NA in top lane, used to be in the LCS as well. He is in the top lane for Carnegie Mellon, and they are number 1 in the East 2 division. Same team as last year. They 2-0'd everybody. I expect them to do pretty decent. They have kind of fallen short over the past couple years, but again, same team that sort of kind of creates a cohesion. And the more you practice with the same people, the better you get. So good luck to Carnegie Mellon, and they're doing very well right now. Another person who used to be on the in the LCS is Bloodwater, who is actually in Irvine right now. And again, relatively the same roster as last year. I think Bloodwater was on there last year. I actually don't remember, but no matter, they are number 1 in the West 2 division, so they're another team to watch out for, and another team that has that LCS caliber player on their team. So he brings that experience, brings that knowledge, and that can usually make a big difference in these types of games. There's a lot of difference between collegiate and pro play, and sometimes you just need that discipline, and the LCS players have that discipline for the most part. And of course, Maryville, they are number 1 in the North 2 division right now. Columbia College, North 4, number 1 in the North 4 division. Of course, Columbia College, they're also the ones teaming with CSL to host the Midwest Campus Clash. So, of course, I have to give a shout out to them. But they're a really nice bunch of people. And University of Kansas, or actually, I think it's University of Kansas. North 3, they do lead that division as well. We saw that game. I believe it was yesterday, actually. My memory is completely shot. No, it wasn't yesterday. It was CU Boulder and LMU last night. That was Friday that we saw University of Kansas versus Kansas State, where University of Kansas pretty much steamrolled Kansas State, and for good reason. Like I said, they're number 1 in North 3 division, and I think they're going to surprise people. In fact, I'll talk about them a little bit more later on. But honorable mentions, though, is Texas at Austin, Texas A&M, Berkeley, Simon Fraser. They're all doing well. I mean, there's so many divisions. I can't go through all of them within the 30-minute time slot I have. Not to mention 15 of it. I am going to interview a coach later on, so we're just going to cut it short there. Can't go over all of them, but there's a lot to look at. You can actually go to our website, cstarleague.com/LOL/standings, and check all of them out there. Moving on from there, we're going to look at the Big Ten, and that's actually really exciting right now, and I'll tell you why in just a moment. But so far, we'll go over some the divisions right now: West Division versus West Division and East Division. Wisconsin leads the West Division with 4 teams tied for second place. That is the University of Minnesota, Purdue, Illinois, and the Northwestern University. They both, or I shouldn't say they both, they all 4 are tied for second right now to try to get and claw their way up to Wisconsin's level. Now, more exciting though is the East Division. And I don't know how many of you watch the NCAAs, but we're going to get into that in just one moment. Because tied for first right now is the University of Michigan and Ohio State University. And I just want to throw this out here. I am a Buckeye fan. I'm actually from Cincinnati. And I do have a lot of sympathetic feelings for Ohio State University. So, I usually do root for them during these the clash in the NCAAs between the University of Michigan and Ohio State University. And fun fact, it's actually the very first collegiate game I ever casted that got me my resume to provide to CSL to actually get the job here. And that was quite a while ago. So this rivalry is very old. First meeting in 1897. They've decided the Big Ten Conference Championships between 22 different times by themselves. That's a huge amount of times just for 2 teams to meet and decide the championship, the conference championship, I should say, by themselves. But it's only fitting that the rivalry actually ages with technology, because now we have that rivalry on the Rift with the League of Legends, and their game is actually coming up on February 27th. They haven't faced each other yet, and I'm really excited when they do, because they're tied, and it's beautiful whenever you see 2 huge rivalries tied for first, and then they have to duke it out to see who wins. So February 27th, did I say 21st? It's February 27th. They'll break their tie by going head-to-head to find out who dominates the Big Ten East Division. It's going to be very exciting. I'm extremely excited for that one. I'm definitely going to watch that one. You should watch, of course, all the Big Ten matches. They are quite exciting. I believe we just had one yesterday as well. There's one every week. Actually, no, it's going to be tomorrow. Sorry about that. Today's Sunday. It's going to be tomorrow. And they're on every Monday, just like every Big Ten. So check it out. You can always follow lolesports.com, and sometimes C-Star League also tweets about them as well. So check them out. Big Ten is very exciting right now. But like I said, the game to really watch out for, February 27th. That's Ohio State University versus Michigan. It's going to be amazing. But moving on from there, we're going into Week 5. Going into playoffs are almost here. Week 5 actually started yesterday. Most of this is going to be about Week 4, or has been about Week 4, I should say. Week 5, I've already went over teams that are looking strong. Of course, Irvine, Toronto. I did not mention Toronto, and don't confuse that with Mississauga. They are actually 2-2 in the East 3 division, but Toronto University, or University of Toronto, I should say, is actually number 1 in the East 1 division. And there's a lot of teams still going in that are looking strong. I'm gonna give as you can see there on the screen, I'll give a top 10 here. It's my personal top 10 list. There's really no science behind it besides these teams look dominant. I've seen them play before, and they're highly entertaining to me. And sometimes that's what I base my judgment off of, because I'm not really an analyst. I mean, I kind of am, but not for that list. I had fun with that list, so it's my list. Get over it. But we'll get to that in a second. But right now, Wednesday, I do want to point out that Wednesday is our final broadcast for Week 5. We're actually taking Friday off because the playoff brackets will be forming by then, and we're going to be back to our normal broadcast on Saturday, so keep that in mind. Monday, we'll still be here Monday, we'll still be here on Wednesday, but Wednesday, like I said, that will be our final broadcast for week number 5, and then we go into playoffs, resuming on Saturday. As like I said, Friday, we're not going to be here. But also, that's a good shout out to teams. Double check for your results. Go over any reports that need to be entered, such as forfeits, wins, losses, anything like, well, I would hope you'd already report losses, but definitely forfeits. You need to go have everything finalized before we enter the playoffs. So have it all finalized by Wednesday, because by then the playoff brackets will be finalized, and we need to just get everything in as soon as possible. I believe Utah last week had 3-0 on their record, but they had 2 unreported games, which I believe were more than likely going to be wins. So definitely report your games. They could help you out and get you into playoffs. Alright, well, I'm missing my Pheqes Top 10 overlay, but trust me, it's going to be there. Or it's there. Anyways, my personal top 10 for the week, I'm just going to go ahead and list them out, and I'll give a little bit of reason why. I won't go too in depth because, again, like I said, I mean, I mostly just like these teams. They're fun to watch, they're cool guys, and they're all really good. So it's all you know, relative to up is in here. Sometimes you don't have to really analyze what's up in here because I don't know. I confuse myself sometimes. I'm sure I confuse other people too. But we're starting at number 1, Maryville University. I mean, they're the CSL champions. They were last year's. They were undefeated last year. They're essentially undefeated this year. They have dropped a couple games in a best of 3, but it's not a full. They haven't dropped the series. They've only dropped the game, like 1 game out of 2, and they've won the series after that. So I mean, that does show that they can adapt. They didn't. I don't believe they lost any last year, so seeing them lose is not something I'm accustomed to, but I was interested to hear Prototype last week say that they actually have dropped some games. But regardless, they're still number 1 in their division. They're still CSL champions. They're still my number 1 pick. And of course, Robert Morris University is going to be the next one. I am a big fan of Robert Morris University. Everyone there has just been just fantastic. They've been second 2 years in a row in the ULoL Campus Series, losing out to UBC, which again, they're going to be a little bit different team they're going against this year, as UBC doesn't have Bobchin anymore. So I feel like Robert Morris University, they could pull out possibly number 1 spot if Maryville doesn't have anything to say about that, which you know they will. Of course, Columbia College. I do like Columbia College, and of course they are hosting the Midwest Campus Clash. I think I've said that enough times now. But of course, registration is still going on through the 22nd, so check that out. McMaster, they came in second last year, and McMaster's somebody I've actually overlooked pretty much this entire season. Again, there's a lot of colleges to really keep up with here. But McMaster, they've always been strong. They're still strong. They're still number 1 in their division. There's no reason why they aren't a team to look at. Going in past that one, Toronto, University of Kansas, and I think they'll really surprise you. They haven't been a team to really look at for the past few years, but their team was pretty amazing when they took on Kansas State. Kansas State isn't quite at the caliber as University of Kansas, but that's because University of Kansas has a lot to show for their talent. I think they're going to really surprise people. Carnegie Mellon, I always am a big fan of Mega Zero. I've always been a big fan of Carnegie Mellon. I like them. University of British Columbia, like I said, they're kind of surprising considering they're still number 1 in their division. They haven't dropped a game. They're still fantastic even without Bobchin. I think University of British Columbia, they can still be a force. I just don't think they're going to be as big of a force as the past few years. Ohio State University, because I'm a Buckeye fan, fight me. And then Irvine, Irvine's always been a big team. There's no reason to not watch Irvine. They've always, a lot of teams out in California have been big. Irvine, they've been one of the more consistent ones. Of course, Berkeley is there as well, but that's my top 10 list. Berkeley doesn't quite fit there. Irvine does, though, and that's just my opinion. We'll see how that turns out later on as the series goes on. Of course, like I said, the real exciting games start next Saturday as playoffs do start, and a lot of the games so far have been a lot of like big stomps, but now we're finally going to see some like really competitive games. I'm very excited because playoffs are when things get really exciting. When you go to that third game in a best of 3 where you don't really know who has the edge, it's going to be very, very exciting. And speaking of exciting, I do have Drake Porter, RMU's coach, on the. I should be standing by. I'm going to try calling him. He's accepted my friend request, so give me one moment here. Let me see if I can get a hold of him here. Oh yeah, I forgot my Skype picture is actually me as a kid, so it probably freaks people out whenever like a little kid Pheqes is calling people. Yeah, let me see. I am ringing him. He said he doesn't have USB ports that are functioning on his computer. He is working via a phone right now, and right now he's not answering, but he is talking. He told me to call him one more time, but yeah, he's actually going to be Skyping me through a phone, which is whatever works. Technology's fun like that. So we're gonna try to get this going. Actually, it looks like he might be having a little bit of technical difficulties. I'll try calling one more time here. I mean, but until he gets back on here, we can just ramble. RMU, they're impressive. Drake Porter, a little bit about him. He's actually a former NACS coach, which brings a different perspective behind the scenes. Now, like I was talking about the discipline of the LCS players, I should say, on the teams, bringing just bringing the strategies that you see in the LCS, more discipline, harder work time, harder practices, things like that. Coaching's a little bit different. You kind of get all the sides of it from there. You have strategy, you have analysis, and by the way, this is cool. Hold on. This is I have a phone call. Drake, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, hold on. Let me get my overlay set up for you.
All right.
So yeah, you're on your phone. Thank you very much for doing that.
It's cool.
All right, so welcome. Thank you for joining me tonight. I guess we'll just get right into this. So you're a former NACS coach, correct?
Correct, yes.
So how, I was talking about it right before you called, how does going from NACS coaching to collegiate coaching, how is that different, and what do you bring from one to the other?
So I think the main thing with collegiate that's really nice is that you have a very long period of time before things actually matter, which is almost a bad thing. Like, to be honest, pretty much the first month to 2 months of competition for collegiate is just us learning how to play. We have a long round of time where we can get better, whereas in NACS you pretty much have I think they're 6 week splits, where if you're bad the first 3 weeks, you're pretty much screwed after then. So you don't have much time to actually improve. In terms of what you pull from NACS, I just think NACS is a very cutthroat and stressful environment. I wouldn't say it's more stressful in LCS, but I'd say that it's definitely a very stressful environment. And whenever you go to collegiate and you're in these LAN events and stuff like that, and things are starting to get really heated and hyped, and it comes down to a really important moment, it's really nothing compared to being in NACS and knowing that if I lose this game, everybody in my organization loses their job and we lose $1 million investment and stuff like that. So it's certainly it's almost easier in collegiate in a way, but there are definitely quite a few things that you can pull from NACS to collegiate.
Okay. Well, with that being said, so I don't know if you watched last week's episode. Last week I had Prototype on here.
I'm aware.
Of course. He's an outspoken dude. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I had him on there. He speaks what he speaks his mind. So one of the things that I asked him was how he's doing against Robert Morris University, because I'm always interested in Robert Morris because you guys have been second so far, two times in a row. And he said he's 5-0. Maryville as a whole has 5-0'd you guys in scrims. Do you have anything to say about that? Is there validity to that, or is there something that he's not seeing that you guys are, things like that?
Yeah. So first of all, I'm not sure if he said that. I watched it 3 times. I will say that since he wants to leak scrim results, that's bullshit. They got 3-0'd in scrims in not even close games. So whenever we rank the teams that we're actually scared of, we're kind of we're not even scared of, but we think Irvine might be good, we think UBC might be good because we haven't scrimmed either of them. But of every single team in the Midwest that we scrimmed, we haven't lost a single game to any of them. We definitely haven't lost to Maryville. Maryville wasn't even remotely close. It actually came to the point where we decided we don't want to scrim Maryville anymore because they gain so much more from scrims than we do. So that's just not true. And I think that his idea that micro skill should matter significantly more than macro skill is just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, if he wants to play a one-on-one game, he should go play StarCraft or something like that. But as a team, RMU is without a doubt unquestionably the better team.
All right. Well, fair enough. Moving on from that topic, I'm really glad you're not holding any opinions back, because that makes my life a lot easier as far as how to approach all these. So you're talking about teams that you might be scared of, or at least looking at. Irvine, one of them. What other teams are you looking at? What about UBC? I mean, considering they have been your Achilles heel the last 2 years.
So I generally hold the opinion that nothing from the past 2 years matters. just because every single team is significantly different than this year. And then on top of that, our view is different. The way that we function is different. I mean, like our coaching staff, our style, we're like innovating in every single way that we can. So I wouldn't say that I'm worried about UBC because they've won the past years. The reason that we worry about UBC is just because we haven't scrimmed them. We scrimmed all the rest of our competition. We played CC at a live LAN event and 2-0'd them in extremely close games, or not close games, in extremely like one-sided games for us. Last game, they literally got 1 kill and ended up FFing. So it's like we're not worried about a lot of the main competitors that people say we should be worried about. I mean, for the most part, it's just teams that we haven't proven ourselves against that we're actually worried about. And I would just say that's Irvine and UBC.
All right. So like, there's other teams like Toronto and things like that. So Irvine and UBC are the biggest threats, or I guess biggest questions to you. I won't say threats, but yeah. You consider them the biggest threats. Well, or questions. What are you doing to prepare for something like that? Since you haven't scrimmed them, what do you do to prepare to go into a sort of a blind matchup like that?
Yeah, so the main thing for us is just like playing live. Because I'll tell you right now, if we play anybody online, we'll win. If ULoL was right now and is all online, we'd win the whole thing and not lose a game. Where things go bad for us is playing live because it's way different. The LAN that we played in didn't even have like an audience. There was nobody there watching us. And even then our players played significantly different than we would whenever we are kind of in scrims. The deal is that you want to enforce these like dramatic macro systems by which the team evaluates and plays the game on a consistent basis to where they get on stage and it doesn't matter how bad they play micro-wise, so long as they're like maintaining the basic macro strategy of the game, they're still winning. So for us, we don't really focus so much on our opponents as much as focusing on ourselves. Like it's all about just trying to get the fundamentals down as best as possible. Like in terms of being a team, we want to have the fundamentals down better than any other collegiate team. We want to understand macro strategy better than any other collegiate team. And then we can make adaptations to enemy teams kind of like later on down the road. But in terms of the teams that we've been seeing, UBC, Irvine, I think so long as we maintain our macro strategy and our current approach to coaching, we'll be significantly ahead.
So speaking of coaching, and just in general, are you also the analyst and manager of the team, or is there a whole field? Because I know that's one of the schools that actually has an entire scholarship and actual system to support your team. How has the team been supported besides just you here?
Yeah, so whenever I went to RMU, I wanted to push the limits of everything, right? So I really did try and look to how we can change kind of like our top team's training. And basically we have me as kind of like the head coach, macro coach. We have the intense Mango, Dan, as our micro coach. He was a top 10 challenger AD carry. We have a performance kind of like psychology coach, James. On top of that, we have an analyst team, currently mostly working with our head analyst, Mickey. And then on top of that, we have our manager, Espen, great guy. And then kind of moving more into a coordinator role, we have agent Ferris. Everybody knows Ferris, but he's also a very good like mentor to me almost. So we have a lot of people on board just trying to support the players in every single way. Most of the work with the team is me, but our head analyst and our micro coach are both there every single day working with the team.
Okay, and do you feel like, do you know any of other colleges that have that sort of thing? Like, do you fear any other teams or colleges' support system may be better than yours, may give them the edge of sort of things like that? I know you're confident about your team as far as their actual skill, but do you feel like there's any other teams out there that have a sort of support system like you guys, or do you feel like you guys are head and shoulders above everybody else as far as the support system?
I would say player for player, we're actually there probably are teams that have better player for player rosters than us. Where we do come ahead is without a doubt our support staff. Without a doubt, we have the best coaching staff in all of Collegiate. We probably have a better coaching staff than some NECS teams, and I go as far as to say some LCS teams. Like the things that we're doing at RMU are things that a lot of teams anywhere aren't doing. We're really pushing the boundaries of coaching and the approaches that you can take to coaching, and we kind of make up for kind of not our lacks in lane. I mean, we have some like amazing players, but any situation where we don't have the best players in terms of micro and mechanics and stuff like that, we make up for it in our coaching and our approach to coaching. I know that some schools have coaches But as far as I understand, none of them are even close to where we are. None of their coaches are near as strict as we are. I mean, they're not employing the methods of coaching that we use. So I'm not near as worried about the coaching staff of other schools. And I would say RMU is years ahead of competition in terms of coaching and our staff.
All right, yeah, I know you guys did set the bar for a lot of that, so it sounds like you guys are still keeping the bar up on all that. So that's actually pretty amazing. But we are closing out pretty soon here on the interview and on the whole broadcast. Do you have anything you want to say? Any shout out? Anything you want to give respect to? Anyone you?
I just want to. Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me to the podcast.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for being here.
Second of all, I want to thank all my players for putting in the tremendous amount of effort that they put in. Without a doubt, the hardest working collegiate team. I want to thank my staff for working so insanely hard, especially Dan and Mickey. And then, of course, our sponsors at RMU. I can't remember them all off the top of my head. There's like a million. But special shout out to Madrina's Coffee because they hook us up with the dank coffee. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I mean, we have a lot of people that I'm extremely thankful for at RMU. Oh, and I can't forget Kurt Melcher.
Right.
Amazing guy, started the whole program. Very happy he let me, him and Ferris both let me end up working with RMU. So, yeah, I mean, I have a million people to thank, but those would probably be the first ones that come to my head.
All right, well, you guys are looking strong going into playoffs, and they start this Saturday, so, I mean, good luck, and thanks for joining me, man. It's been an honor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night, man.
Yep, you too.
Thank you. All right, and again, thank you, Drake. That essentially wraps up the rest of the week 2 for ULoL Weekly. My name is Joshua Pheqes Quest with C Star League. Of course, you can follow me at www.twitter.com/Pheqes, Pheqes. And of course, you can also follow C Star League at C Star League, and specifically our League of Legends Twitter, CSL LOL. And yeah, thank you for tuning in. Obviously, tune in tomorrow and Monday and Wednesday, I should say. As like I said, Wednesday is our last broadcast. We are going to be off Friday, and pick back up on Saturday. Sorry about that. And Saturday does start the playoffs, so very exciting time for the ULoL Campus Series. Exciting time for me because I'm a caster. I love casting playoffs. It's the most fun thing in the world, and I look forward to seeing teams like RMU go into there and just prove their worth and see who comes out on top. But again, my name is Joshua Pheqes Quest signing off, and thank you for joining us.